What's up, everybody, and welcome to a very special bonus episode of Speaking of Stadia. I am, of course, one of your hosts, Aaron Cini, and as with me always, the man right down there is the best beard out there, my favorite John Krasinski on the internet, too tall himself, Jacob Porter. Jacob, how are you?
Could be better.
I mean, it's not great that we're doing
got
this.
2 feet of snow outside I've been dealing with all day, and then this great news you've gotten that we are impromptu talking ever. It's on a Monday though. It's like,
yeah, at least it's during our normal shows. And a returning guest, the one, the only one who's actually ever been a guest on this show so far. Woo. We have my favorite artist, Fee. I keep doing it wrong in the camera.
I know.
Fiona, how are you?
I'm doing as well as I could be at the moment.
I mean, right? Yeah, I'll take it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, this is, of course, the Speaking of Stadia podcast, where every other Monday, which is brand new, me and Jacob come here to break down all the news you need to know about the future of gaming, and hopefully it's still the future, where we talk about Stadia, other cloud gaming, all that good stuff. We just had an episode last Monday, so that would mean right now we should not be recording, but the news today was just too juicy. We're coming to you with a little bit of a bonus episode. We want to break down the fact that today Google announced they would be shutting down the Google games or the Stadia Games studios. They have two, one in Canada, one in Los Angeles. And by God, the internet's saying the sky is falling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the end. That everything they said has finally come to pass. That Stadia is over and Google's kicking it to the curb. Yeah. So, what else do I have to say other than let's get to it? Yeah. Before I start breaking down the news, we have just a couple of things that will kind of go into this topic. I want to talk briefly on the official statement from Stadia, which I thought was really well written.
Oh, yeah.
I know immediately people are going to be like, oh, market speak. It's fine. It's all going to hell. But I disagree. I think that they actually really wanted to comfort people in a way and say, like, no, we're still on course. And then we're going to talk about a little bit about the article that broke the news. Of course, coming from Kotaku, I expected Jason Schreier's name at the top of that. I know he's not there anymore, but that's just what I expect when I hear articles like this.
Oh, he still tweeted about it. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Oh, I mean, he was doing his typical about labor stuff and like how they lost 150 employees, and that's kind of what he talked about mostly. But yeah.
So we'll break down that article that actually broke the story today from Kotaku, and then we'll talk just a little bit about what we think the future is. So let's actually go ahead and jump into the official statement from Stadia. I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and pull up the article itself so you guys can see it right here.
Wow.
Focusing on Stadia's future as a platform and winding down SG&E. I'm going to go ahead and just read the statement if that's cool with everybody. Yeah. We launched Stadia with the goal of making your favorite games instantly available wherever you want to play them. With the recent successful launch of Cyberpunk 2077, on Stadia, gameplay of all types of devices, including iOS, growing your slate of YouTube integrations, and our global expansions, it's clear that Stadia's technology has been proven and works at scale. Having games streamed at any screen is the future of this industry, and we'll continue to invest in Stadia and its underlying platform to provide the best cloud gaming experience for our partners and the gaming community. This has been the vision of Stadia since the beginning. In 2021, we are expanding our efforts to help game developers and publishers take advantage of our platform technology and deliver games directly to their players. We see an important opportunity to work with partners seeking a gaming solution all built on Stadia's advanced technical infrastructure and platform tools. We believe this is the best path to building Stadia into a long-term sustainable business that helps grow the industry. Creating best-in-class games from the ground up takes many years and significant investment into which the people said no shit. And the cost is growing exponentially. Given our focus on building on the proven technology of Stadia, as well as deepening our business partnerships, we've decided that we will not be investing further in bringing exclusive content from our internal development team at SG&E beyond any near-term planned games. With the increased focus on using our technology platform for industry partners, Jade Raymond has decided to leave Google to pursue other opportunities. We greatly appreciate Jade's contribution to Stadia and wish her the best of luck in her future endeavors. Over the coming months, most of the SG&E team will be moving on to new roles. We're committed to working with this talented team to find new roles and support them. What does this mean? If you're a current or future Stadia gamer, you can continue playing all your games on Stadia and Stadia Pro, and we'll continue to bring new titles from third parties to the platform. We're committed to the future of cloud gaming, and we'll continue to do our part to drive this industry forward. Our goal remains focused on creating the best possible platform for gamers and technology for our partners, bringing these experiences to life for people everywhere. I thought this was actually really well written.
Yeah.
Fee, let's start off with you. What do you make of this news? What do you make of this statement? Just kind of what are your general thoughts on this crazy day?
Well, I know we're gonna jump into the Kotaku article, but I feel like this was a really good representation of, hey, we're not actually ending. This isn't the end of Stadia. We just put, like, instead of having our eggs in multiple baskets, we're just going to be focusing on our partnerships with other production teams and other, like, studios. Now, I understand that definitely is terrible for the people who had jobs with the internal Google team for sure. But I think that this provides the whole, like, Cyberpunk 2077 debacle. Like, they can put more focus onto stuff like that and get more people onto the actual platform than to try to push a game that people might not be interested in because they haven't, like, experienced Stadia before. So if they could bring familiar faces onto the platform, things like Ubisoft games, and you see, like, Lara Croft and Hitman and games like that, it gives more opportunities for more people to come in to the actual platform.
Jacob, let me have it, man.
Well, just to piggyback on that, like, we are seeing more of that recently, especially, like, actually, oddly enough, everyone's like, the sky is falling, Stadia is dead. Judgment just got announced that it's going to be coming to PS5, Xbox, the series, and then Stadia as well.
Nice.
And this is their next gen upgrade, and they're including Stadia in that conversation.
Exactly, which is, I think, a key part of this. Like, clearly, like, the sky's not falling. Stadia is still a platform. And what kills me is, like, I saw today that I know Alex Hutchinson, who is a very polarizing person on Twitter because of what he said about streaming, but he posted that it's ironic that they bought Typhoon Studios, the people that made Journey to Savage Planet, which is the free game for Pro this month. Yeah. And on that same exact day, they closed the studios.
Yeah.
So clearly he had no idea, because he was tweeting about Journey to Savage Planet coming, like, a few weeks ago. Clearly he had no idea this closure was coming. That's what I think it feels like to me, like that wasn't really known.
He wasn't a part of that conversation.
Yeah. Which is kind of crappy. So, and it's odd that, like, Phil Harrison, the one person is keeping his job, well, at least that's a wonder. Like, they also hired, I forget the woman's name from Sony Santa Monica, who was like one of the creative directors on God of War. They had hired her as well, and I wonder what they mean. They talk about Jade, but they don't talk about her, and they're keeping Phil. So it's like, what's going on there? What is actually going to be happening? Phil hasn't tweeted about anything since April of last year, which was the first Kinect post launch.
Yeah.
And he hasn't tweeted since then. Jade actually, I was looking back at Jade, actually has over time, like, tweeted here and there, but, like, very sparingly. So it's like, you're supposed to believe this guy's, because I actually just checked as well, because I missed it before you closed. It was who wrote that article, that post. It was titled Phil Harrison. Granted, I'm sure other people looked at it first, but it's odd that that's what bothers me, is it's coming from him, who hasn't really been the front facing person that us Stadia faithful have really wanted him to be. We haven't really had. They usually Jack Buser or what's his name? John Justice have been, like, the faces of Stadia that they've been putting in front of cameras. But, like, the two big names that they hired the real big names haven't been a presence besides that one Connect where Phil Harrison was on, and the E3 stuff last 2 years ago when that actually was a thing. So I get why people are reacting how they are, just because they haven't. I don't think they've done a good job throughout being consistent with who is in the face and what their message actually is. It's odd that they just had Stadia Games and Entertainment announced in like July with Orcs Must Die 3, and then they announced like 3 games along it, and then they kill it. So I'm curious if winding it down, that means that the games like Supermassive and Harmonix are still coming as exclusive or planned exclusive. So I'm curious to see where that happens. That the verbiage makes it sound like that is the case because they say internal development stopped, and it's kind of left the door open for possible still third party exclusives for Stadia.
Right, for sure.
The verbiage just say, I mean, granted, they're winding down Stadia Games and Network, but it doesn't mean they can't still get in a third party exclusive just under their own publishing banner. Like when Sony gets Deathloop, they're not going to have Sony. So was Sony Entertainment or whatever it is now?
Studios now.
Sony Studios now. Like it's not gonna have the Sony Studios label on the back of it. It's still gonna have Microsoft probably actually, but which is gonna be even funnier. But I still don't see them not buying third party exclusives. I still see that being a possibility
for sure.
So
yeah. I mean, obviously, I was like, oh damn, okay, this is kind of crazy when the news broke. But reading the statement I just read, there's so much in it that tells me they're still in this, and that they're like, this is not the end of what you all think it's going to be. I think one of the things that stuck out the most is starting with massive wins. They were like, look, we've proven our tech kicks ass. Cyberpunk ran great. We got us on iOS. We are growing our slate of YouTube integrations and our global expansions. Like they are saying, we've proven the platform, and we can take that money, we can take those resources, and we can go into continuously really filling out the platform and delivering on the promises that we made, and we can get games to buy into us this way.
Yeah.
I don't think they're playing the exclusive game anymore. They're just trying to make sure that this is literally the best experience. I want to know how much Cyberpunk played a part in this, where they're like, why are we worried about making games? Let's get people to buy into our platform and sell their games here.
I still think it's a harder ask to get buy-in from companies is one thing, and buy-in from us as the consumers.
No, totally. No hurts faith.
And that's what I'm seeing in the conversations on Twitter and on Kind of Funny Group, obviously, which if you're not aware of that, we're part of the Kind of Funny Group. It's how we all met, and seeing the doom and gloom from people about rip Stadia it's going to be, and then soon the whole thing's going to be canceled, the whole platform, or they're going to sell it to Valve or Sony or someone else. That's what I'm seeing a lot of because of this, because
which feels so.
How do you trust a company?
To me, I don't know. Like
people are saying, like I saw someone's comment is, if you don't believe in your own first party platform games, how much do you really believe in your platform? I understand that, but at the same time, like they just don't see the need for first party. So it's like Steam as a platform. Granted, they have like Dota but you don't go to Steam for Dota. You go to Steam for Steam. Like
exactly.
And I think that's what they were trying to do. Like even Epic Games Store doesn't have they did buy third party exclusives or timed exclusives, but like that's to get mind share. I mean, I guess that's the only thing Stadia can really do is that at that point is this sort of thing. Buy third party exclusives, but not make actual games. I mean, good Fortnite, but like
sure.
Yeah.
And I appreciated the last 2 sentences of this very first paragraph. It says, having games streamed to any screen in the future is the future of this industry, and will continue to invest in Stadia and its underlying platform to provide the best cloud gaming experience for our partners and the gaming community. This has been the vision of Stadia since the beginning. Yeah. So I think it almost feels like they were maybe a little too ambitious when they decided to have their own game studio as well. It was kind of like, okay, well, we just kind of need everything, right? We need our own exclusives. We need to be over here. We need to be over here. And now it's more like, actually, people are just really into this tech. Let's focus on that and get the games people want to play on this tech. Yeah. And I think that's going to really change our business model. And I understand that when you have told people because you wanted to hold on to like your little talking points of wanting to be a hater on this for the last year and 2 months, you've been saying, well, when is Google going to kill it? And so when people see this, obviously that's the first thing they go to. They're going to just be like, oh, this is dead. just like we all said, because we want to feel validated, we want to feel right. So we're just like, that thing I warned you about, that here it is. And you're just like, well, not really. They just realize that what they're good at is the platform. And maybe what they're not great at is making games, and that's okay.
And from what we've played for, I actually just got my Luna. Ironically, I got my Luna invite today. Which, from what I've heard of people say, like when the city had bad press before, they've also dropped codes as well for that. But yeah. So like from your experience from Luna, and I think Fiona, have you tried xCloud as well, or no? I wasn't sure if you tried during the beta at all. I've only tried during the beta. I know Aaron still has Ultimate and still has tried it here and there, but Stadia is bar none the best of the platforms. I think probably the next closest probably is GeForce Now, and I think it's more of the selling point. It's less the tech is that good as opposed to the platform being able to get all your Steam games is what the selling point is there. But it's by bar none the best experience for cloud gaming.
Yes, 100%. Hands down.
Minus the few people that have had like don't troubleshoot their internet issues and just say Stadia is terrible. But
I digress.
Yeah.
Let's break down how this news actually broke before Stadia could get out a statement. Do you guys have any other thoughts on their statement and kind of what they said to their fan base?
I think like the way that they addressed it, it definitely is a very like straightforward, like this is like, I guess the best way to put it, it's definitely a corporate kind of response, but at the same time, they were very strategic about it. And I think they answered the questions that Kotaku brought up, which we're about to get into, just because and the way that it's discussed, it's very much like, hey, we're not leaving. We're not ending this. All we're doing is we're putting our focus on something. Like, we're not specifically putting our focus on the actual, like, studios or making our own games. Like you guys said, it's more in the focus of, hey, we realize that we can bring other games from other studios and third-party developers and bring them here and show that, like you guys said, this is definitely the future of gaming, to be able to play on any device, because it's become super easy to like, at least for me, to be able to like swap over from everything else. I haven't been in any rush to get a Xbox or a rush to get a PlayStation 5 strictly because I have the Stadia. So it really allows people to get access to that. And I do understand that some people do have internet issues, and by all means, like if you are having internet issues, 1, reach out to your internet provider, or 2, reach out to me. I'm just joking. I'm not an internet, but
we'll all troubleshoot for you.
I'll troubleshoot your internet issues for you.
Yeah, I will. Like, have you tried unplugging and plugging it back in again? Is it direct? Stuff like that. You know what? I will be happy to answer any questions, but still, like, I think this was a great way to address it, and I think it wasn't like too much like everything is great. It's, we recognize that people are upset about this, and this is how we need to answer. So I think they took some time to answer, but I think it was a great response overall.
Yeah. No, totally agree. Just want to point out to a couple of quick comments. Really hope this works out for Stadia in the end. They need to build second and third party support to earn money for first party. Still blows. Just wish they'd come to this conclusion earlier. Evan, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Also, he was also very stoked for Judgment and disappointed that Kotaku article about it arriving on next gen doesn't mention at all the coming of Stadia. I have a bone to pick with Kotaku once we get into this article.
They're a pain, but
yeah. And then Osvaldo says, I wonder what will Google do to replace the lack of first party stuff. Will they make deals with devs for exclusives? I do think we'll see some sort of like exclusive deals coming out, and
it just won't be under that banner anymore of the Stadia Games and Network, Games and Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also, Eric, this is just really nice. Thank you. I won't read the phone book, but awesome. Let's talk about this Kotaku article. Google Stadia shuts down internal studios, changing its business focus. This was written by Stephen Totilo. Google Stadia
article, so you may want to pick and choose a little bit, but just
I'll jump around a little bit. Google Stadia, the late 2019 streaming platform that promised to revolutionize gaming by letting users stream games without needing to own a powerful PC or console, is altering course, getting out of the game making business, and will now offer its platform directly to game publishers alongside offering Stadia Pro to the public. The company is announcing the news today. They also go in to talk about Jade, the veteran producer who helped build Assassin's Creed for Ubisoft and moved on to EA several years ago before leaving to run a game creation at Stadia, is also exiting the company. As they mentioned in that same blog post, they did mention that they were exiting and that they wish her nothing but the best. Google will continue to operate the Stadia gaming service and its $10 monthly Stadia Pro service. It's unclear how many, if any, exclusive games will still come to the service, though the company has indicated that it can still sign new games and will be bringing more third-party releases to the platform. It nevertheless will look to many like a drawdown of the plan to have Stadia run as a bona fide competitor to console platforms. Then he goes on to have just a couple of key quotes here. We see an important opportunity to work with partners seeking a gaming solution, all built on Stadia's advanced technical infrastructure and platform tools, Harrison wrote in a blog post today. We believe that this is the best path to building Stadia into a long-term sustainable business that helps grow the industry. Then goes on to talk a little bit about the history of Google Stadia, how much it cost. The service's best moments may have been when its third-party ports showed off the strength of cloud gaming model in which a game can run well on just about any device with screen and a strong internet connection. Ubisoft's games such as Assassin's Creed Odyssey ran well on Stadia. Destiny 2 Stadia support let players of that game drop in for an extra match or a quest from their phone or laptop when they were far from a regular gaming gear. And when Cyberpunk 2077 was faltering on everything else in December, it was running quite well on Stadia. And then he goes on to just talk shit. I was kind of unimpressed with how he decided to approach it. I thought he was unnecessarily down and negative, and I think he created, I mean, he didn't create it. I think this discourse would have happened either way, 100%. But I think he fueled that fire of like the, look at what they're doing. They're killing Stadia, just like we all said they would. I didn't feel like it was a very balanced article. Fee, what's your takes?
Oh, Steven, if I could meet you in person.
We're gonna have a chat.
We're gonna have a chat.
You're on Fee's bad side, Steven. I hope you're listening.
Yeah, I'm gonna get really angry for a bit, and then I'll tell you sorry because I'm Canadian. So that's how it's gonna end up.
I'll probably buy you some Tim Hortons to say sorry.
I think that he took the information that was provided to him, and I feel like I'm going to put this, like, this is probably going to sound pretty terrible. I think, like, this reads as if this was, like, an obituary in a newspaper.
Yeah.
Which is, like,
for real.
The late Google Stadia.
You'll remember back in 2019 when it launched. And
I mean, he ends it with, Stadia isn't quite done. The Stadia tech could still succeed by many accounts, but Stadia runs great games. Games great. But as game makers, Google has appeared to pack it in. They kind of then it says his one last remark, which I've heard this quote before. Like, Google was a terrible place to make games. Imagine Amazon, but under resourced. Is I guess a quote from someone at the worked at the studio. So
and this is the same thing that
done at the end, but.
This is the same thing that Ruben here is echoing in the chat from the Penultimate Conquest. Check out his show. Honestly, this for me doesn't look good, that it's a good sign. My fear is that Google's just killing it slowly. Hard disagree. I have a hard disagree on that. I don't think they are. I think they just don't want to make games. I think they want to get more games on their platform. Yeah. You're so wrong.
Ruben, go back to the beginning because you clearly missed the whole beginning of 20 minutes before this, and then watch that, and then you'll see why we say not.
Yeah.
Why you're wrong.
Yeah. My goodness. Yeah. Like I said, it reads like an obituary. It seems very much like this is the end of Stadia, but that's definitely not the case. Once again, I've already talked about this earlier on, but it's very much, they want to put the focus on getting third-party creators onto the platform. So that might be indie groups, it might be like big AAAs, and I know that they're looking at getting Uplay Plus, so that's also a whole other thing that they can add to their like repertoire of different games that they have access to at this time and services. But it's currently
we already have Uplay Plus, ma'am.
And it's now Ubisoft Plus now. Thank you very much.
Okay, I apologize.
I know you're waiting for it up there in the Great White North, but down here in America, we already got that there fancy Ubisoft Plus on Stadia.
It's still the late 2010s here, like. But in all honesty, I think that this was not well written And I think that there could have been, honestly, a little bit more of a positive spin, like a little bit more of a positive outlook on it. I understand that this was definitely not something that anyone was expecting to be released today, especially with the fact, like you said, there were games that were Stadia exclusives, that not Stadia exclusives, but made with the Stadia studio in mind, that were released literally less than 24 hours ago, and now the studio is closed. Like, no one was expecting it, but I think they realized, like, hey, this is what we need to do. But I think this article was not well written. I'm trying my best not to apologize. I think that it left a lot of confusion and a lot of questions rather than answers. And I think that's why Stadia had to come in. And I think it was good for Stadia to make Google, my apologies, for Google to come in and say what they needed to afterwards. And quite honestly, I think they did the timing well, because then they could answer everything that Kotaku decided to not answer. Because I know the three of us have currently been dealing with people making comments about Stadia consistently since this has come out. I will be honest, if you are from the Facebook group and you are trying to post anything in that particular comment thread, I have turned it off. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm even an admin there. I've turned it off. I need y'all don't understand. It's just been complete negativity, and it's been the same thing on Twitter as well. And I think people need to, rather than think that it's cool to hate on something, actually take the time to try something out. And if it didn't work for you, that's fine. But completely going the same way that Steven did in this article is not the way to go, especially in 2021, where we need to be looking forward rather than backwards when it comes to the gaming industry.
Or just life in general.
He didn't hide his biasness at all. And that was just such a bummer to see. And I know it's so easy, again, to just validate ourselves and say, I was right all along. This Stadia thing was going to get killed by Google, versus just being an optimist. I was called like an eternal optimist or something like that today on Twitter. But I don't know. I was still going to hold out hope. They haven't proven to me that they're dead. Avery from Stadia Source, awesome host of his podcast. He's been tweeting a lot today, but it's all been, the sky is not falling. Calm down. Like, this is fine. And the last thing he said was just like, until Stadia says, hey, we're closing down Stadia, or until Google says we're closing down Stadia, Stadia's not dead. Like, they closed their studio. Yes. But they've still done a lot of great things. And it is such a bummer with all these cool features that they've rolled out. And now State Share coming with Hitman. And then, Hitman 3 dropping just recently. Like, all these cool things have happened, and one bad news story, and it's just like everybody's ready to just chuck them under the bus and call it.
I mean, just last month they had Xavier Woods, and I'm blanking on Katie. I can't remember her last name.
You've played games with her. She's your best friend.
I follow her on. We follow her on Twitter now too. I've watched a few of her streams. Actually, post that. But yeah, she. They had both them on. I mean, promoting crowd play and crowd choice and showing it off, and did a really good presentation there. And it's like they did so many big wins. It's like it does take the wind out of the sails with this news. It really does. But
it's just a big
so I understand I understand the mindset, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah. They just had so many big wins. I can't see Google just pulling the plug on it or whatnot anytime soon still. I saw someone was Google still has 400 games planned for this year coming to Stadia. Like, there are still Jack Buser as of a month ago said they have plans for Stadia up into 2023. The games planned coming to Stadia up to 2023. So I believe Jack Buser's a guy I believe. He's been very instrumental in the PlayStation thing, and kind of funny in general too. So I know. I don't see it ending. I see it as a new going forward, like you said.
Yeah, I just think it's a different focus of what their business model looks like.
And just the integration with YouTube, I think, is the big thing they want to sell. Essentially,
right.
They're going to sell that to publishers, saying, "Hey, we can do all this awesome stuff with YouTube and integrate it seamlessly. We want to bring you in to bring these features on." And I think that's going to be a big thing. I'm not sure you want to go to the next bit. The next article. I actually updated the article in the doc, by the way.
Oh, good, because it was giving me a 404.
Yeah.
You guys are making me renew my Stadia right now. Eric, get that Pro and get what just launched a Savage Planet?
Journey Savage Planet, Enter the Gungeon, and I'm blanking. Oh, Tomb Raider, Guardians of Light.
Yeah, I just played Into the Gungeon this evening, and it was fantastic.
Fantastic game. Have you played it before?
No, I've never played any of the games that came out today.
Enter the Gungeon is great.
But I just played it this evening, and I was having an absolute blast. I was the Necromancer, the purple one.
I'm not sure if I played as the Necromancer. I think that's in the final edition or wherever they did
so I was playing, what is it? My goodness. Local co-op. And that's the only one that you could play as with
yes. Okay, yeah, you're right. I usually do local co-op too. That's why people say it's better solo, but it's like better, but I think it's more fun co-op.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun co-op.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be playing Madden after this, but I'll tell you about that at the end of the show because I'm gonna plug the little stream that we're gonna be doing. Cool. Our last little bit of this special episode of Speaking of Stadia is cloudy with a chance of games. YouTube is hiring project manager, game experience Stadia. This is great news for Stadia. This may look like a fairly bland job listing as it's a project manager for game experience for Stadia. However, this is going to take some explanation on how this is quite significant. Over the last year and a half, there seems to have been a little disconnect between YouTube and Stadia portions of that Google business. Mm-hmm. We have had the YouTube distance themselves from Stadia because of the Alex Hutchinson situation of a number of months ago. That was where he talked about streamers should pay. It's fine. YouTube not featuring the Stadia controller or generally talk about Stadia when mentioning gaming. It has come across as two different entities are living in separate silos. This job listing looks like it is trying to bridge the gap between the two parts of Google. The key components of the job are responsibilities. I don't know why that just says responsibilities. Evolve the product vision and strategy for Stadia/YouTube. Work closely with engineering, UX, partner engineering, business development, legal, and other functions to assess product priorities, establish a roadmap, and author detailed product requirements. Represent the YouTube creator in Stadia's product strategy and prioritization process. The thing to notice with the listing is that YouTube is doing the hiring, not Stadia. That again may look a little facetious, but it is not meant to be. Silos happen, and this looks like a way to break them down. Stadia has a relationship with YouTube as Stadia is integrated into YouTube's fiber. Crowd play, crowd choice, all operate through it. A number of people in the Stadia community have been calling for a closer working relationship between YouTube and Stadia, and this looks like it'll be the first step. So today, not only are they talking about closing down a studio, we've also now announced a next-gen remake of Judgment that is going to be on Stadia as well as PS5 and Xbox.
Series, yeah.
Worst name ever. And then they have job listings on how they're trying to work with YouTube. So people are going to say the writing's on the wall, but the writing's on the wall that they're just going a different direction and they're still very, very much committed to their platform.
Exactly. And that's why I thought this was a good, I saw this, I was looking at Twitter about a half hour before. I was like, oh, this is a good conversation piece for this. They clearly are trying to now bring and probably sell the two together as like, hey, we can do this cool integration, especially with the big showcase they did recently. They had, I think, like 20 plus different streamers doing dedicated streams for Stadia throughout like the last for a week. Like they clearly are committed to the integration of those two, and I think again that's part of the package that Phil Harrison's going to have to be selling to companies like EA and other stuff like that to get them on board. Those are the big, I guess the last big one that we're still missing right now is Capcom, but that's just a small piece of the puzzle. I guess it's really just RE, and then what else do they really have? I mean, they've done some good stuff like I guess Monster Hunter, but so yeah, but yeah, I think that's the way they're going forward. So.
And my thoughts on this is they're going to keep showing it. And I think these conversations probably started happening after Cyberpunk. I think when they ran out of Premier Editions and people were flocking to them to buy a game that was on other consoles, but it worked the best here, I think they were like, okay, that's actually what we need to focus on is let's get the titles that people just want versus spending the next 5 years developing a game that what if we fall flat on our face with, and now we've wasted all this development time when we could have put all that money into making our platform better and signing deals and getting people to bring their games to us.
My one big thing I'm missing from, I guess, the first party studio going away is they said like we're gonna make games that can only happen on the cloud, and I think we're so far away from getting that now.
Right,
and that's disappointing to me. The biggest, they during that GDC almost 2 years ago now that they talked about all this the power of the cloud and what they can do in the cloud gaming.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get that unless they third party contract out a game to do it,
Right.
which is very possible. They still could.
Yeah.
Do it. That's the one thing I'm upset about. I mean, but it's still possible. Again, they can still throw money at someone to make that game. And they had people on stage talking about making games made for Stadia, but I'm not sure we ever actually saw yet or not. But I want to go back and look at that video. But
yeah, one of the worst takes I saw today was Imran Khan. He was like, so it's a tale of two studios or something like that. He's like, you have Google, who's like, LOL, we're going to just try not to worry about our first party exclusives and see how this goes. And like, let's just run with it. And then they're like, Nintendo came out and they're like, yeah, we've been super successful because of all of our first party exclusives. And I'm like, dude, Nintendo's been doing this since literally the 80s. Like,
yeah,
they have decades. You're talking apples and onions at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Nintendo is a person that beats their own drum and just does what the hell they want. And people,
right.
they happen to have the like 2 or 3 biggest mascots in all of gaming that literally my mom knows who Mario is. But if I told her who, if I asked her who the like a Resident Evil character, like who, like, or who's the lead character in God of War, like who's that? What
right.
was that game? You have these tent poles that you're guiding, or I guess the masks guiding that freaking platform,
and that came out when there was literally no competition for these.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think it's a really poor comparison to think like because they're not doing what Nintendo did that they're not going to be successful.
And Nintendo
could be a different time.
And Nintendo could be Nintendo could be a purchaser of Stadia services.
Sure.
Yeah. Nintendo has been using cloud gaming on the Switch to get games that it can't run natively on the console. I think they had a game recently too. I forget what the game was, but they had another game recently. And it's like, so I could see a company like Nintendo even partnering with, if they don't want to partner with xCloud, with Microsoft, if they want to partner with Google to get like, then what, by all means, go for it. I mean,
yeah.
The tech is better than xCloud. So I think Nintendo is more about quality than quantity. I mean, that's just an idea. I mean, they could get their games running on the Switch specifically, not on obviously all of the other stuff, but still through Stadia's network. So
for sure.
Yeah, we could be looking at something like having Ubisoft Plus and then having like a bunch of these other like larger companies like Nintendo saying like, okay, we'll have like Mario Kart and a bunch of these other multiplayer games or Splatoon, and having them as like a cloud-based option and using it almost like a channel system where you can like subscribe into these particular like groups. Just like with, my God, is it Ubisoft Plus or is it Uplay?
It's Plus? Ubisoft Plus now.
Ubisoft Plus.
They rebranded it in like November to be Ubisoft Plus now.
I'm sorry, I will recognize that when it actually comes to Canada.
And now it's Ubisoft Connect. It's Ubisoft Connect, not Uplay anymore either.
You know what? Ubisoft just come to Canada and then I'll recognize. Yeah, it sounds nicer.
As Evan says in the chat, Control demo ran awfully for him on the Switch through streaming. So they obviously need some help on their cloud-based stuff too.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
I've heard really good things and really bad things about that Control demo. So it's a very, very wild, like mostly negative though.
Yeah.
But I think it leaves a lot of opportunities for Stadia, especially paying more attention on other groups coming in rather than only paying attention to their own or putting in too many people doing too many things at once, just focusing on, like you mentioned, having so much recognition when they had Cyberpunk working. They could try to fight towards things like maybe a timed exclusive, like it comes on Stadia and PC first, because we saw how well these like next generation games worked so well on the PC and on Stadia before they worked on PlayStation and Xbox. It might give them an opportunity to be able to play these games at how they should be before they get it set up for the PlayStation 5. It's just like specific options, just because right now it's been a little bit wishy-washy when it comes to exclusives on the new consoles since November.
Yeah, no, it's been tough. One thing I just thought about actually is because they talk about helping companies third publishers get games on. I'm not sure if I remember the verbiage exactly.
Yeah.
But they could, in theory, keep some of those developers from those studios to help them port over games for the companies. So they could invest some resources into that.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that being a possibility too, which I think would be a smart move and a good move to do, because that's been the biggest hurdle, is getting people to port games. Like, they had a third-party company port Cyberpunk, and I saw them on Twitter shouting like, "We are so proud of ourselves for doing this," and they should be. They actually should be proud of. That's a fantastic port of a game that ran shaky on even some PCs,
right?
Port on Stadia was that good. So if they can get talent like that to port games for them, and then really show like, hey, we can make the best ports of your game and make it run perfectly, that'd be a big selling point.
Unreal. Awesome. Well, this was a special episode. Like I said, we were just really covering one topic. Do you guys have any closing thoughts on the game studio closure today?
It was a shitty situation that wasn't explained well at the beginning, and I think that it was explained well through Google, and people probably should take some time to actually read the Google statement. And I hope to see some positivity come out of Stadia over the next few months.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I hope they get some. Hopefully, follow this up with some bigger news, like other bigger third-party games coming to the platform. Especially like there was we talked about last episode, was a rumor of like Final Fantasy VII coming. They can get like something like that to kind of like, hey, no, they are actually getting third-party games that even Xbox isn't getting. I think it could be set the message kind of like, oh no, Stadia is around to stay. Yeah. But they need to be very active with the community and media as well to get that message across.
Awesome. I just want to keep spreading positivity until they tell me Stadia is dead. I'm going to keep believing in it as a platform. It's a bummer that I'm not getting these first party exclusives, but at the same time, I didn't really know what they were working on, so I don't know what I'm missing out on. I've been playing Hitman and Cyberpunk, man. Like, these are games on other platforms. Keep giving me these games that I can play anywhere, and I'm good. So
exactly,
I'm fine with this method. So that's it. Like I said, I'm going to go play Madden. For anybody interested, I will be doing a guest stream on twitch.tv/WabaPlays. We are going to predict the Super Bowl. We are going to play Madden 21 on Stadia. It is going to be his first time playing Stadia. I don't know if I'm the Chiefs or Tampa yet, but that's going to be super awesome. So look for that on our Twitter at Speak of Stadia, and I'll get it to showtime once we have it nailed down. Awesome. That'll be Wednesday.
Yeah. Nice.
Awesome. Oh, and just a little quick, Evan, thank you. Well, I'm glad we could help you vent. in the comments, yeah.
Let me get that up. Yeah, we also needed this to just get out and, spread some positivity on this news. It's not all doom and gloom. Stadia's here to stay. Fiona, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitch, as well as I usually stream tonight, but I had some crazy things plus this, so I was just like, you know what, we're just going to be focusing on Stadia in this stuff this evening. So you can find me at twitch.tv/Zoranix, as well as on Twitter at Z or Z for the United States. URANIIX. You can also find me on Sundays. Currently, this is going to be on Tuesday. I'm over at the Penultimate Conquest podcast, where we talk about Attack on Titan, the newest season, the final season, every Sunday usually, but this week it's going to be on Tuesday, so you can catch up on that if you were interested. We're going to be talking about the latest episode, and I'm going to cry. It's going to be great. It's at twitch.tv/Penultimate Conquest.
Check out the Penultimate Conquest. Right before I was on this show, I was actually over there recording an episode with those guys on WandaVision episode 4. They are putting out some really great Marvel content. Go give them some love. They also just launched a new Destiny show, so be sure to check that out. And then again, right here with Fee, make sure that you're hanging out, checking out all that good Attack on Titan stuff. Jacob, where can the people find you that you want them to?
Too Tall Porter most places. Stadia, Twitter, which I barely use. I think it's the same thing on. You use our Twitter a lot, but it's on our Twitter. I accidentally use our Twitter. Like I do. I'm like, it's just gonna be. I just comment on your stuff because it's funny. Sometimes. Yeah, no, I love it. Nobody knows. But yeah, I don't post much on my own personal Twitter, and then Instagram I have like locked sort of private, so don't bother me there.
Just leave me alone. That's the most old man answer. I am, of course, Arancini. You can find me on Twitter at Arancini, AARONSEANEY. You can also check out my brand new show, Awesomely Average. Every single Tuesday, I am live on twitch.tv/Awesomely Average Gaming. It's a show where I get different content creators on. We get to chat about all the cool shit they're doing. Come hang out. It's been a blast. Otherwise, Porter, I would assume we're coming back here next Monday because
So we still got, there's still Stadia news to be talked about.
So we will be back here next Monday, roughly around the same time, talking about all the news of the future of video games. So thanks so much, everybody, for checking out the show. Again, kind of a bonus episode, kind of crazy. Do me a favor. Every single time somebody says Google's going to kill Stadia, say, just wait. Just wait. That's all I got. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Peace.